How's it going, everyone? It's me, Lone, back again with another Fallout 76 video. I hope you've all been enjoying Meat Week as part of Fallout 76 this week. There's a bunch of cool outfits and plans and recipes up for grabs as part of Meat Week, including the damn potato salad recipe, which keeps evading me. I can't seem to get it. If there are any of you on PC that manage to have a spare plan or recipe, let me know, because I will buy it off you. I don't want your charity. I will buy it off you for cold hard caps or trades. What do you want? You want a 50 cal? A Junkies 50 cal? I got one. Got one of those. I got a bloodied bow too. Just let me know. Anyway, let's get to the topic of this video, and we'll be talking again about legendary enemies in Fallout 76 and just the process of getting legendary weapons and legendary armor pieces. A couple of videos ago, we went through some really great locations where you can find a bunch of legendary enemy spawns in the game. If you haven't checked out that video, it is linked in the description below. But in that video I mentioned, I was like, hey, I could make a video about events and great events where you can also find legendary enemies and of course get legendary drops. And a few of you in the comments mentioned that you would like to see that video. So here is that video. You're gonna get the video, and I just want a potato salad recipe in return. It's all I want. But with that all out of the way, let's mention some great events in Fallout 76 where you can find legendary enemies and also, of course, get legendary drops. I'll be covering 10 events. This, of course, is not comprehensive. There's a bunch of events out there where you can get legendaries, and I'm going to mention some honorable mentions right now, and those include AWOL armaments, leader of the pack, and pretty much any event that takes you to an area that I covered in my last video. Like, there's a few different events that take place at Harper's Ferry, for instance. So check out those events whenever they pop up on your map. Just make sure you click on them and go to Harper's Ferry because it's a great location. But yeah, those events that I mentioned before are also great as well. AWOL armaments, I just could not get to spawn, so I couldn't get any footage for it, which is why it's not in the top 10. The other ones were easier. Let's get to the 10. Alrighty, let's start off with a Colossal Problem. A Colossal Problem is a brand new event introduced in Fallout 76. It is not on console at the time of this recording, but it should be coming very, very soon. But yes, as part of this event, there are actually numerous sources of legendaries, so it's definitely one that you want to try and run. How do you actually trigger the event? All you need to do is launch a nuke that covers Monongah Mine. It does not need to be right on the mine. It can just cover it, and I suggest that you do that so that when you exit the mine at the end of the event, you're not actually in a nuke zone, so you don't need a power armor or a Chinese stealth suit or anything like that. But yes, this is a great event. Of course, one of the main sources of legendaries is from Earl Williams himself. He is a unique legendary Wendigo Colossus, and he is 3-star, so you can get anywhere from a 1 to a 3-star legendary drop from him, whether it's a weapon or whether it's an armor piece. It's obviously all based on luck and RNG, but you can get legendaries from him. The key with that, of course, is making sure that you loot his body and you don't die, because yes, if you kill Earl, there's still a chance you can die, whether it's one of the Wendigo spawns killing you, whether it's debris falling from the from the ceiling rather, or one of the corrosive pools that have managed to stick around even after Earl has died. And there are acidic barrels. Like there's a lot of stuff in that event that can kill you, and that includes even after Earl has died. So be sure you loot him before doing anything else, and just be very careful, because yes, you can actually loot the other Wendigo spawn safely even when the timer runs out, and you're just going to spawn at the outside pretty safely, so you don't actually have to escape the mine. But you do want to make sure that you loot Earl, because if you die, then you're just going to spawn outside and you have literally no chance of looting him for that event. None of the Wendigo spawns can be legendary. I've yet to find one that is legendary. So I'm just wanting to mention that is different to some other events where the regular spawns can be legendary. But of course, when you finish the event, you also get another legendary drop, and you potentially can get a cursed weapon. So these are actually new weapons introduced in Fallout 76. They specifically are legendary, which is why I'm mentioning them here, like an executioner's weapon, for instance. And they can be a harpoon gun, a pickaxe, or a shovel. I believe that's the rotation of cursed. And you won't always get them. Sometimes you might get a plan or something else, but sometimes you can get one of those cursed weapons. They're not that rare. I get the cursed harpoon gun fairly frequently. I believe other cursed weapons are rarer to drop than that one, but yes, you can get that if you keep doing the event. So a bunch of sources of legendaries as part of Colossal Problem, so that's one that you definitely want to do if you are looking for legendaries in Fallout 76. So next up we have Scorched Earth. This of course is an event that I had to mention because it is still one of the most consistent ways in the game to actually spawn a 3-star legendary, that being of course the Scorch Beast Queen. The Scorch Beast Queen is effectively the main boss in Fallout 76, and as a 3-star she can drop anywhere from a 1 to a 3-star legendary weapon or armor piece. The key with this event of course is that you need to get enough damage into the Scorch Beast Queen to actually have her drop a legendary. So you can't just sit on the sidelines, you actually do need to contribute. I believe the rough damage that you need to get is like 1,000 or something like that from memory. I'm not going to check, but just contribute anyways, because you don't want to be that guy that's getting just the bare minimum in and then not doing anything. Everyone should be contributing to get the event completed as fast as possible, so you of course can actually respawn it again to roll more and more legendaries. The beauty of this event is that some of the spawns can actually be legendary, so whether it's like a Milo Queen or whatever it might be, I'm just listing random enemies right now, but a bunch of enemies can spawn as part of Scorched Earth, and if you're lucky, one of them or maybe even two of them might be legendary. Of course, at the end of the event you do get a legendary drop as well, an armor piece, which is pretty cool. But yes, Scorched Earth is still one of those great events where you should be doing to get legendaries in the game. Of course, you trigger it by launching a nuke onto the Prime Fisher site, whatever your preference is. Like, I personally at the moment like to do Colossal Problem because it's very different, it's very fun, but either of them are going to give you a decent chance to get some legendaries. So third, we have Encrypted. This is the event that of course you can spawn the Imposter Sheep Squatch, and in my opinion, it's one of the most fun events in the game because you actually have a legitimate chance of dying numerous times. It's kind of like a Colossal Problem in that sense. The Imposter Sheep Squatch is incredibly strong, and its laser beam attack, because it is an Assaultron effectively, can simply wreck you, and I love it, especially if you are a low health build. You got to be on your toes. In my opinion, you should have an almost full suit or a full suit of Troubleshooter's armor, because it's going to protect you not just against the Sheep Squatch but also against all the robots that spawn as part of the event. But yes, this event is one that spawns a 3-star, that being the Imposter Sheep Squatch, so it can drop anywhere from a 1 to a 3-star legendary weapon or an armor piece. Of course, this is one of the events that you can get the Fixer plan as well, so you should be doing it if you want to try and get that plan, if you don't have it and if you don't want to buy it off of somebody else. In order to actually spawn the event yourself, you do need to complete the Lying Low questline and finish Wolf in Sheep's Clothing, because that's actually going to allow you, first of all, it's going to give you an Assaultron Recall keycard to spawn the event for the first time yourself, but then afterwards you can, actually spawn the event yourself using Assaultron keycards. And the way that you do that is by purchasing an Assaultron keycard circuit board from one of the vendors in the game, and then you need to have fluorescent flux, I believe it is, and copper and steel and rubber, other materials, to be able to create one of those recall keycards at a Tinkerer's Workbench. And then again, once you've completed that quest line, you can go to the terminal and spawn the Imposter Sheep Squatch as part of the event. Obviously, this is one of those events that everyone needs to work together. If you're a full health build, you're one of the pylons. You are acting as a conduit. If you're a low health build, you're the one that's doing a lot of damage, presumably, and then you're everywhere in between. Just make sure that somebody is being the pylon. It's a fun event, but it is only possible to complete when everyone is properly working together. But yes, it's a great source of legendaries in the game, especially because you can keep spawning it pretty much whenever you want once the countdown timer or the cooldown timer is done. But yes, remember that the Assaultron Keyguard circuit board costs a little bit as well, so be sure to have max charisma for that. So next up, number 4, we have Project Paradise. This is a solid event for spawning legendaries, because at the end of it you can actually get a 3-star legendary enemy. Specifically, they're called alpha predators, or a powerful alpha creature, and I've seen less participation in Project Paradise over time, and I'm not sure why, because you get that guaranteed spawn at the end of the event. Of course, if you make it, it just depends which area you do, I believe, that determines which actual enemy that spawns, whether it's a sheep squatch, a grafton monster, or a fog crawler. but you should do this event and just pick the area that's best for you. You might find that it's either you or maybe one other teammate that's just doing this event if no one else is participating. I like to do the area with all of the rad stags, so I don't know why, I just find that easier in my opinion. So in that area I spawn the sheep squatch all the time. But either way, you're going to get a 3-star. You're going to get anywhere from a 1 to a 3-star legendary drop off of that enemy. I am not sure, I can't remember from memory whether you can spawn or whether you can have other legendaries that spawn as part of the event. I think you can. I think I have it as part of my footage, and if I do, it's going to be on the screen right now, so I'm going to correct myself later on in editing, which is great, the power of editing. But yes, Project Paradise is a really good event. You should do it whenever it pops up on the map. It's one of those public events that show up as a notification just as you're playing, so then once you see it pop up, you go there, you fast travel, and you actually start the event by going to that terminal. So yes, I really do like Project Paradise. It's a good event to get legendaries. So next up, number 5, we have Riding Shotgun. This is a great event in the game to have a guaranteed spawn for a legendary enemy. How do you actually activate this event? Well, the beauty is you can do it yourself. It's not an event where you have to wait for it to spawn on the map, though you can do that, wait for someone else to actually create the event. But if you haven't done it within a certain time, you can actually spawn it yourself by talking to Vinny Costa at the Big Bend Tunnel East. When you talk to Vinny, it'll start the event so other people can join from the map, and again, you can do that yourself. But the beauty of this event, as I mentioned, is that it has a guaranteed spawn for a legendary. Specifically, it's the legendary Blood Eagle Captain, who spawns, I believe it's like the middle area roughly. You'll see the footage on the screen right now as to which area the legendary Blood Eagle actually spawns. But this is the event I believe it's time to actually start mentioning what you should be doing, what is actually considered proper etiquette for these kind of events which have legendaries that don't necessarily have the most health in the world. Like when you're talking about Earl Williams or the Scorchbeast Queen or Encrypted or even the 3-star at the end of Project Paradise, they all have decent health. So the likelihood is that you're going to get a shot in and actually have a legendary drop. Not so much with Riding Shotgun. This is an event where the legendary Blood Eagle Captain will drop very, very quickly, especially if you have a properly spec'd out build. So please make sure, that everyone gets a shot in on the legendary enemy. I could have mentioned this at the start of the video, but I'm going to specifically mention it now because it's much more relevant for Riding Shotgun. If someone does not get the shot in, especially if they're not on your team, they're not going to have a legendary drop, and nobody likes that. No one likes you one-shotting legendary enemies. We know that you can do it, but just let someone else, whoever else is in the event, let them get a shot in so you can actually all have the legendary drop. All you need to do is like bash them with your weapon, or if you have like an explosive weapon, do the splash damage, which is what I like to do all the time because it deals with very, very minimal damage comparative to their overall health. But yes, if everyone gets a shot in, everyone can have their legendary drop, and I believe that the captain is anywhere from a 1 to a 3-star. I don't believe it's a guaranteed 3-star, but in any event, you're still going to get a legendary guaranteed from this event from the captain. So do it, get that drop. It's great. You get a pepperoni roll at the end of the event. How good is that, right? Not for your herbivores out there. Anyways, moving on. So number 6, now we're getting to the events in the game which, quite frankly, I guess aren't as well known, if you will, for legendary drops, or they're simply events that have lower level legendary drops. So you're not going to get your max, level 45 or level 50 legendaries dropping from them, but they still serve a purpose because, of course, even lower level legendary weapons or armor pieces can still be traded in for the exact same amount of script as a higher level one. So be sure to do these events, especially if you are running low on your backup legendaries, to get your legendary script for the day. But let's start off with Monster Mash. Monster Mash is actually not one of those lower level events, especially if you are above level 50, but it spawns a bunch of ghouls. And as part of those ghouls, you can get some of them, maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 if you're lucky. You can get some of them that actually are legendary ghouls. And I am showing you footage on the screen right now proving that as part of Monster Mash, you can get legendaries dropping. Of course, this is not guaranteed. You can do this event and you might not have a single legendary drop or a single legendary enemy, and I apologize if that's the case, but it's definitely possible, and they're higher leveled, as you can see in this video. But this is a great event as well, I want to mention, because not many people do Monster Mash anymore, and it of course, in and of itself is fun, like if you want to actually properly do Monster Mash, but if you also just want to use it to try and get legendaries as well, or even XP, because ghouls are great for XP, and in my opinion, they're great for other drops, like random chems and whatnot, like 8 items, for instance, and random, like, junk. But this is a great event. This is something that you should always do, because it's usually always on the map. I always see Monster Mash available to actually participate in. And if you want to get the candy and trade in the candy for more materials, then you can do that as well. But yes, I like Monster Mash. You should definitely do that if you want more legendaries in Fallout 76. Number 7, we have Radiation Rumble, my absolute favorite event in Fallout 76, because it means I get a lot of XP. One of the main reasons why I like to do this event, of course, another main reason being there's so much loot by the end of this event, and there is a scrapping bench right there, so you can scrap all of it. It's such a good event for loot and XP, but of course, as part of it, there can be legendaries that spawn. Mostly they're ghouls. If you do progress further enough, you can get other enemies that drop as well, or that spawn as well, including like floaters and death claws, for instance. But this is a great event for particularly low level legendaries. Like the ghouls that spawn can be, you know, in the 40s, so some of those legendaries that drop can be low level, but it's still good, especially for your low level players, or again if you just want some legendary script. But I do suggest whenever Radiation Rumble is on, just do the event, and you might get some lower level legendaries to build up your script collection. But the main thing for me, especially with the legendary run, is just boosting my XP, man. It's such a great event. You should all do it. It's also a lot of fun as well if you actually really get into it and try and do all the proper steps, you know, to max out your ore meter. So I definitely suggest Radiation Rumble. It's one of the most fun events, in my opinion, in Fallout 76. So next up, we have Uranium Fever. In my opinion, Uranium Fever is one of the more underrated events when it comes to legendary drops in Fallout 76. The reason why I believe this is because it's one of those events where they always spawn, the enemies always spawn at a lower level. So when the legendary enemies spawn, again, those are going to be at a lower level. So if you are looking for those max level legendary weapons or armor pieces, you're just not going to get it from this event. But that still does not mean that this event isn't useful, because again, you can get legendary drops that help you reach your daily script limit. And also as well, those lower level legendary drops are still useful, whether it's for your alt characters or people online asking to trade for lower level weapons or armor pieces because they're starting a new character, right? Or they want to help a friend out. Those posts come up all the time on trading forums. So if you get a really good lower level legendary drop, you can actually trade it for a good amount of caps or potentially a trade, just depending on the situation. But the reason why this event is really great, there's 2 reasons. One, it has three guaranteed legendary enemies that spawn as part of the event. And second, the event literally tells you when these legendary enemies spawn, because the voice over the speaker will say there is a terminated management personnel. When you hear that, you know that a legendary has spawned. And the way that it works is if someone is not waiting on a legendary in that back room, like as soon as you walk into the area where the event takes place, the furthest room in the back up the stairs, if no one's in that area waiting on a legendary to spawn, usually the legendary spawns in the cave there. So it's very, very predictable. If someone is waiting on a legendary, then it can spawn somewhere else. But the tactic that I like to use for this event is have no one in that room, so we all know when it spawns, and then we can all go in there and get a fair shot at the legendary. This is one of those events, I will stress this, I see people one-shotting the legendary enemies or killing them way more than other events. I don't know why. I don't know why it's Uranium Fever, and I don't believe it's warranted because it's not as chaotic as Radiation Rumble. I get it. If you accidentally kill an enemy when it comes to Radiation Rumble because like they were about to kill an NPC because you can't revive them, fine. But when it comes to Uranium Fever, there are not that many enemies that spawn, and also you can repair the extractors. So in my opinion, there's very little excuse for quote-unquote accidentally killing a legendary enemy in Uranium Fever. Let everyone get a shot in. Just do a weapon bash or splash damage. Let everyone get a shot in and then kill the enemy. Use the follow me emote to indicate to everyone so they know when that legendary has spawned. But yes, you can get 3 of them, so you can get potentially 3 legendary drops as part of the Uranium Fever. It is a great event. So second last, number 9, we have all of the Horde events in Fallout 76. This is not a specific event per se, but it's a bunch of different events that can spawn as you're playing Fallout 76. And I don't believe it's one of those events that shows the notification. You actually have to keep an eye on the map for whenever there is a Horde event to travel to it and actually participate in it. And they can spawn across the map, so keep an eye out for different areas, whether it's the forest or otherwise. They can spawn everywhere. But when you do get a Horde event, you actually do have a guaranteed drop for a legendary enemy. And depending on the area, they can be max level too. So it's definitely an event. Like when you're just glancing over the map to see what other events are actually active at the moment, you should always keep an eye out for Horde events because again, they're a guaranteed drop. Really good source for legendaries, at least when they do spawn. It's not something that you can consistently rely upon, but when it's there, you might as well do it. So yes, the Horde events are great. I'm showing you footage from one, and at the end, I killed the legendary enemy. So again, very, very solid event for getting legendaries in Fallout 76. Alrighty, lucky last, we have Free Range. Free Range is another one of those public events in Fallout 76, which you get the notification for on the screen that pops up. So when you see it, you know when it's active, you go to your map, you fast travel to it, and you participate in the actual event. It's such a cool and chill event, man. Like, you get to herd Brahmin, the Brahmin have cute names, and all you need to do is protect the little Brahmin until you get to the end when the actual boss spawns. And who hasn't wanted to be a Brahmin herder in the game? Right? It's everyone's dream. Admit that you've thought about it at some stage. But yes, when you do protect all of the Brahmin until the end of the event, you do get a guaranteed legendary that spawns a legendary Sheep Squatch. And usually, I see this Sheep Squatch spawn as a 1-star. It's usually, for me at least, not more than a 1-star, but you can actually get up to a 3-star legendary Sheep Squatch. It's just incredibly rare. So all I'm saying is when you do this event, just expect that you're going to get a 1-star legendary weapon or armor piece drop from it. Apparently, you can actually get 2 legendary Sheep Squatch that spawn as part of this event. I've never seen it. I've never seen more than 1 spawn as part of the event. And apparently there's someone that online had 2 3-star legendary Sheep Squatches as part of this event. I've never heard of that in my life. But if you get that lucky, good on you. But it's still a solid event for getting legendaries in Fallout 76 because it is a guaranteed spawn for our legendary enemy. Alright, we're done. Let's go to the conclusion of this video. Alrighty, Wastelanders, that is all from me. I hope this video has been helpful for all of you. Let me know in the comments below if you need me to clarify anything about getting legendary enemies and legendary drops in Fallout 76. But until next time, this has been the Lone Vault Wanderer. Please, take care of yourselves, and would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.